everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady, and today I am reporting from my parents' back patio here in Aiken, South Carolina. And my mom requested that I come out and cut a bunch of her Coleus to put them in arrangements inside so that they will root, so that she can plant them later in a few months when she starts repotting these containers for the fall season. Now here in Aiken, there's zone 8. They generally don't get frost until like mid-December. So if she's repotting these planters in October, she'll still get 2 months out of these Coleus. So they're really big and they're like at the prime stage for getting a little pruning. And I just thought this would be a fun video to share with all of you. So if you have Coleus that are really starting to overgrow or they're starting to flower, this is the perfect way to use those stems to root them and then ultimately get to use them again in the garden to just sort of extend their purpose. So let me show you how to do it. So as you see here, we've got what I learned as Japanese brocade. It's one of my favorite Coleus of all time. I love these large leaves and this different coloration. You see they're starting to flower, and there's nothing really wrong with them flowering, but it will definitely kind of change the look. So instead of just cutting the flowers off, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut down to an area on the stem where you've got good new growth, good side shoots coming. So I'm just going to take this down just like that. You see, it doesn't really like make the plant look bad, and what that'll allow is for these side shoots to really develop and fill in. So I'm just going to go around to all of her Coleus and trim out some of the central leaders that are blooming, and then we're going to bring these inside. Okay, now that I have all of these Coleus harvested from this container, you can see the container still looks good. Has a little bit better shape and it won't get as floppy. We're gonna bring these inside and make some beautiful flower arrangements with the intention of getting these to root so that they can be reused in a few weeks in new container plantings. Okay, so first of all, I'm kind of shocked that my mom doesn't have more vases, because I just assumed that my obsessive vase collecting came from her. But I haven't found very many vases, and I have a huge pile of Coleus that I wanted to soak in water. So we're gonna have to make do. So I have found a few. Bigger is better, by the way, with this. So really you want them to be like this height, and it would be better if this was double the width. And then I'm just gonna put fresh cold water in all of these. And I wanted to show you, she has some that are started, and they're looking a little weak, and you see these aren't rooting. So I'm gonna do a close-up on this to show you. So you see how the leaves are kind of curled and they don't look healthy, and when you pull them out, you can see the stems are rotting. And this happens sometimes at this time of year. There's also mealybugs. You see the white on the stem, so you don't want to bring those inside because they'll just spread to all of the branches. So these are just going to go into the compost, and we're going to start fresh. And a lot of times the rot can be alleviated by, adding fresh water every couple of days when you first put the cuttings into the vase. Speaking of mealybugs, I see one right here. Often the mealybugs will be kind of right at the node where the leaves and the stem meet. So when I go through and see, here's another one. This is really small. They're small and white. They're squishy. They're pretty gross. As I go through cleaning up this pile of Coleus that I've just taken from outside in her containers, we're gonna be conscientious to wash all those off. We're gonna obviously remove all of the lower stuff, because this stuff going in water is what causes rot. Okay, so I have the vases full of clean, cold water. It's important. You can actually also add something like Sprite for the longevity and to increase rooting. It's very specific. A lemon lime soda is what I would encourage you to use. I'm not sure we have any of that. I think we have a lot of ginger ale. Ginger ale doesn't actually work. It has to be lemon lime, so something like Sprite. And then I have all the cuttings here in the sink, and I'm gonna, make sure that they get a fresh cut, and I'm gonna remove all of these big lower leaves, because that's actually what, once it's in the water, will start to initiate rot. And these haven't been cut for very long, so they don't really need another fresh cut. But I'm also examining for mealybugs, because like I said, if you have one mealybug, all of these will end up getting mealybugs, and that will ultimately deter the plant from rooting, which is the whole point of making these arrangements. So I'm going to differentiate the varieties in the vases because I like how that looks, but you could mix them all together. That totally works as well. And depending on how long they are, like this one is too deep. This vase is too deep for this cutting. So I'm gonna put it in one that's a little bit shorter. That way it doesn't have any vegetation that's touching the water. And look what I brought in, the world's cutest little tree frog. I'm going to bring him back outside. It is so cute. So I relocated the tree frog back out here to the pot that I was trimming on. Now it's time to just place them around your house. I like putting them in areas adjacent to windows. That way they can still photosynthesize well. And it's also nice when you have hard surfaces, like granite or something, that you don't have to be as concerned about putting a coaster down. If you're putting these vases down on, wooden furniture, I'd recommend that you put something between the vase and the wood to be able to make sure that you don't have a ring form, because you'll be needing to keep these filled with water for at least the next 3 to 4 weeks. That way they develop a really big root system, and you'll be able to transplant them out into containers to extend your Coleus season. Here's an example of a pitcher that my mom had already done. You see she's mixed a crinum in to be able to have that flowering element. And you'll see these Coleus have started to initiate roots. These have been in this container for roughly 2 weeks. So that's what you're looking for. You'll want those roots to develop a bit longer and more densely before you transplant them out into the soil. Well, I hope you'll be inspired to take some cuttings from your Coleus and use them for indoor decor while they root, so that you can put them out into your fall containers in a few weeks. If you found this video to be helpful, please give me a thumbs up and hit that bell notification so you'll know when I post more videos. And as always, thank you so much for watching, everybody.